Will it work? Can anyone see me? Will I be live? Okay, I think I am actually live. Okay. And now, how will anyone find this stream when there's another stream already in existence? I don't know. But we'll find out. We'll make it eventually. Oh my gosh, I did not expect this to be so complicated. I started working at this at like 3:30 today. I started working on like getting the decorations set up and getting all of my stream assets in place. And I did not have, for some reason, you'll be able to stream, but nobody will be able to see you. Like, that was not on my bingo card for things that were possibly going to happen. So I'm glad that some people got the notification. I'm very sorry, everyone who was like waiting before the stream started and like how this is all just gone. It's gone so sideways. And like my tea is cold. It's lukewarm, which is worse. Iced or hot is fine. Lukewarm is not like, I could, you know, like not my favorite. So here we are. What do we do? Okay. What do we do? Oh, well, I appreciate your dedication of just reloading. So my plan for today that has gone completely awry is have sort of a combination of like a usual Q&A, but then also, you know, do some holiday activities. So I was thinking we could decorate the tree and just hang out and ask and answer some questions like we normally do, and just gaze upon how adorable my dog is. Wait, what? I didn't have gay furries hack a nuclear. I always have to say, you can tell I was a child during the Bush administration because I say nuclear by default. Nuclear depot. My bingo card either, but it apparently happened. By the way, that's how they describe themselves. Oh, I mean, wasn't there like somebody who hacked like some airline thing that was like one of the, like, I don't know how to describe this because I don't want to say this in a way that sounds transphobic, but like one of the Nya like cat girl like trans women that is a script like a script kiddie hacker like hacked some fucking airline shit. Didn't that happen? That was nuts. Our government is really hanging on by a string, honestly, so it's not that big of a surprise. If you have repeat offenders, like if they only do it once a stream, but they do it every single stream and they're not learning, you can just block them. It's fine. You can just block them. Oh, thank you, Rosie. Okay, wait, this is like hidden. It's hidden underneath the doggo. There we go. Someone should just to make sure the donations are working. Thank you. I appreciate it. I did not get to put the. I have a Christmas, like a dog and a Christmas tree one I use for the holidays. I did not have time to set that one up today. I will volunteer. Also have a question. There is a statement about everyone liking or appreciating breasts. I'm curious what your opinion about that is as an ace person. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess that kind of sounds like one of those, what I expect to hear from Facebook of, you know, when people say stuff like, real American men love beer and bacon, and if you don't love those things, you're not a man. Like, it sounds like one of those just in the abstract. I think it's something that we are taught to learn, and I think it's something that people can also find, like, repulsive or not repulsive or just completely perfunctory or don't even really notice it. And I don't know. I think as an ace person, I gotta say that human experience is diverse, and like what body parts people care about or pay attention to are quite variable, because there's also things about people's bodies that they always assume, oh, you know, people would hate this, I'm not attractive because I have this feature, but then like there's always people out there that like don't pay attention to it or don't care, actually do find it attractive, like glasses or bangs or a large nose or a thin upper lip or like cleft chin, like things that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily pay attention to, but the other people, like, they really care about it. So that's that is my statement on that. I think the thing I will say though is the kind of people who make liking boobs their personality are like stuck in middle school. Like if your thing is like I want to have big honking anime titties on my car, like if your idea of like I'm gonna make this ride classy is getting a big vinyl anime sticker on like the rear view like of your car, and then just be like that's what people need to see when they're driving on the road, I'm gonna say probably don't do that. That's my take, is probably don't do that. All right, now I'm paranoid, so I'm just gonna check to make sure I'm actually streaming like every 5 seconds. I think I'm actually streaming. Is like, okay, wait, let me see. Actually, I may be able to have restream chat start working again. Let me see if I can make that work. That would be fun. Is this working? Hello, is this on? It may not actually connect now that I started streaming. But it would be fun if it did work. It says I'm offline, which is objectively not true. It is. Okay. Okay. It's because at some places it's telling me I'm not streaming, but I know I am. So that's fun for the anxiety. Okay. Now I want to get to the question that was on the previous stream that somebody very diligently asked right away. Oh, thank you, Mr. Beansman. Oh, I have had talk about hair pulling, puppy play, and age play from the non-king parts of my Twitter feed this week. Are the vanillas okay? Oh, like hair pulling, like not as in hair pulling as part of puppy play. I was like, oh, like pulling a tail? Like question, like you know, hair pulling, comma, puppy play, comma, and age play. The fourth wall is breaking. Whatever wall exists between the kink world and the non-kink world, it was always pretty thin, but I think, and this is not to say this is a bad thing necessarily, but the ubiquity of like go to my OnlyFans Twitter accounts and TikTok accounts and Twitch streamers has certainly made it so the lines are a lot more thin, because making, I wouldn't say like kink content, because actually there's been some stuff recently with websites. I'm not going to name any of them. I don't know if that would be a good idea or not, but certain websites have really started to crack down on BDSM content on them. But for some reason, when it comes to promoting OnlyFans content or like premium Snapchats, which I think are still a thing, or something along those lines, they end like a lot of the content that gets popular is if you can find like a niche kink thing or do things like doing doubles content for OnlyFans where there's like hair pulling and you can tag that, because that's like vanilla enough to where I can see that getting through the censorship. But also the age play and puppy play, I do remember, I think maybe it was you actually who mentioned the VTubers discovering age play, which is like, what happens? I need more of that story, please tell. But the puppy play is interesting because I feel like that's the most specific thing and the most like, because of how common daddy kinks are in media, it makes sense to me that there would be more social contact with age play in more mainstream society, just because of, you know, schoolgirl costumes and Britney Spears music videos, and like a lot more vanilla content is much closer to age play than puppy play is. But how did all of that happen? Because that, like, I don't know if the vanillas are okay or not. I don't know if anyone's okay. I think we got to just check in on everyone. That's probably a good standard to go with. Why am I getting a Manscaped ad? Oh, okay. So this is important to mention. So, YouTube is something I wanted to talk about. So, YouTube, in their infinite wisdom, has updated their ad policy, and being a creator is great, and I'm slowly losing all of my freedom. Thank you, YouTube. I guess I am happy, YouTube overlords. Don't question the smile, please. They have changed their ad policy, and now they have made it. This is something that Twitch already does, but now they have implemented mid-roll ads in live streams. And I can control how frequently they show up. I can't seem to turn them off completely. Or if that is an option, I've missed it. So I have it set to be as infrequent as possible. I think that's every 30 minutes. But I honestly, that might be part of the reason why the streaming wasn't working earlier, is they updated that, and maybe them implementing add buffers to a stream, like does something weird in the back end, that could be part of it. Because I don't know how. There must be some kind of latency thing where they get room to be able to play ads in. I don't know how that timey-wimey stuff works, but they're adding mid-roll ads that play during a live stream now. Very cool. And for YouTube videos, they've also changed ad features where I used to be able to select the type of ads that would play. Like I could individually select, and I would always opt out of unskippable ads, and I think there was maybe some other category I'd skip out on. So I could alter what type of ads are playing on my videos. So that way, if you didn't want to see an ad, you could always skip it. Now, they have decided, again in their infinite wisdom, that we're going to let AI do this. And now they're going to use their beautiful algorithm to determine what type and duration of ads you get played on all YouTube videos. I still have control over how many ad spots get put in a YouTube video that's like recorded and uploaded for now. I suspect in the next year, they will probably change that too and get rid of that feature. They are selling it as like simplifying ads for creators and like optimizing your revenue. Like they're selling it like it's positive for us, but like I know what's going to happen, and they're going to play fucking 9 pre-roll ads before a YouTube video. And so no one's going to watch it because they're going to be like, why would I watch 10 minutes of advertisement before a 20-minute YouTube video? And they're also cracking down on ad blockers, and it's like, oh, it's such a mess. They're really, I don't know why. It's like you're owned by Google. Like you have to be making big money. Why do you need to be doing this? They are being numpties again. That is exactly what they are doing. It's really, it makes the experience worse for creators. It makes it worse for viewers, makes it worse for because I don't watch Twitch because I don't like watching mid-roll ads in the middle of a live stream. Like I have a couple of streamers I like to watch to have on in the background, and they mostly stream on Twitch. But like I hate that it's every 20 minutes, like 20 seconds to a minute of ads suddenly play for like the same 4 things over and over again. It's like I don't want to have another Taco Bell commercial. I don't want to whatever other thing they're advertising. Usually it's like Alienware, laptops, and Taco Bell and Mountain Dew, and like the I guess really when I say all of that out loud, it makes sense. They know who their customer base is, but I will look more into it when I had a chance. Honestly, I was just trying to stream earlier, but I did notice that they added a new feature for live streams, and I'm not happy about it. So I hate that feature. I do not like it when mid-roll ads play. Because even on these live streams, you guys, even for my videos, now I will have it where there's ads in the videos. But my live streams, my recorded live streams have always been ad-free. And now they're changing that. So thanks, YouTube. Everything is but a year or 2 away from being basically unusable. It's usually 2 minutes of ads for every 20 minutes for me. There was like a couple times where I would literally see like 9 minutes of ads or like 9 ads back to back. It was pretty nuts. I sent a $10 super chat, but I'm not sure it went through. It should highlight it for me if you sent it. Let me see. I'm not seeing any super chats. And that's pretty, like, YouTube's pretty consistent. I'm not sure why it wouldn't go through. Oh, I can literally insert ads. Like, okay, that's so... I can just, like, right now... What is add a stream marker? Oh, that's probably, like, things to mark to myself? Or just I can only add one. Okay, that's so weird. Okay. I will keep an eye out for any super chats. I haven't seen any yet. I do have restream. I haven't even gotten into like the usual spiel I do, so I hope you all know what the rules are because I'm not going to go over them. But if you want to use Streamlabs instead, that has been popping up and working. So that's linked down below if you want to do that instead. But also, like, if you just want to send in your question, I'll try to get to it if I can. Chat froze after the ad. You got a PayPal receipt? Okay, well then I guess YouTube just ate unless there's some kind of really big delay. Or it's possible maybe you put it through... I streamed for like 6 minutes before in like the part 1 holiday hangout, which is like a different stream. So maybe it went through on that one. I don't know, but just like I'm not gonna make you pay for it again. Just like put it in the chat. I'll read it. I'll get to it. It is definitely to bully people into YouTube Premium, which, like, how much money could they possibly be making from YouTube Premium? I have to pay for a special plan because I have, like, multiple YouTube accounts. And it's, like, it is the most expensive thing. Like, I like, it is $23. That is ridiculous. Just to not see ads on YouTube videos, which I listen to a lot of YouTube, so it's worth it for me. But it's way more than Netflix or Hulu or any of that stuff. And it's like, well, like, where do you get off YouTube? Like, come on now, it's not fair. Imagine free use but with ads. I have ideas about that. Okay, so let's get to a couple of questions here. One that I saw before was, I think it was, what is breaking your sub, or like how to break your sub. I don't remember it exactly. I'm just paraphrasing, but I talked about this in a video not too long ago, actually, probably a couple months ago, maybe 2-3 months ago now. And the short answer to that is, breaking your submissive is usually understood to be a process where, to use a colloquial phrase here, you put your submissive through the ringer, and then after they go through that ordeal, they become compliant and obedient and willing to be submissive. This can include people in a role play sense that would not identify as being submissive, or would be, you know, they wouldn't be submissive before being broken, but then being submissive is something they can do once they're broken. I think that there are some problematic things that are associated with breaking a submissive, because the way that it was used in earlier BDSM communities online is people would, I don't know where their line was between like fantasy and roleplay and reality, and like when they were just like fucking with other people on a forum, but the way it used to be described, you'd make it, you would be forgiven if you had the impression that in order for somebody to be truly submissive, their will had to be completely broken and they had to be a shell of their former selves. Because it can really sit on a spectrum from just doing one scene where you pretend that you have your will broken, or maybe you do like a really heavy impact play scene and then you just feel so beaten down that like you can't hold back against how painful it is, and you just can't keep going and you have to stop. And like getting someone to call red, like this can be a way of breaking a submissive, is getting them to do that once, and then like moving forward after that, just to like prove to them like how strong and powerful of a dominant you are. But it can also go way more extreme than that, where it's basically like a pattern of physical and or psychological abuse, of removing your submissive's ability to revoke consent and mentally contorting them to your will. And I think there are ways to do stuff like that that is positive and helps with building better habits, and like there's a silver lining to a lot of things, and you can do stuff like this in a more positive way. But the way that it's talked about online sometimes makes me worried, because the way that some people talk about it, you would be forgiven for getting the impression that they are talking about mentally destroying a person in a way that like cannot really be come back from, which I think is part of it, is this idea of irrevocable transformation mentally. And I'm not super comfy with it, because it comes across similar to what a lot of men's rights people try to do when they're like, I hate women and I'm just going to destroy them because he's dumb, I don't deserve any better. That I would have concerns about. So breaking a submissive, it's a common fantasy for, I should probably mention that too, it's a common fantasy for roleplay purposes. It is something that people enjoy, especially if, I think maybe before the language of brats was so ubiquitous, but even since then, people enjoy the idea of either having a scene that's so tough that it breaks them down and they feel like they can't help but be submissive towards someone because they're so fully controlled, or people like the idea of being the person doing the breaking because it's such a big demonstration of their power and authority. So it varies, but that's basically what breaking is. I wouldn't say it's a common thing that I hear people talk about doing. Like, I don't really hear it as like oh yeah, last week I did this scene where I broke my submissive. Like, that's not something I generally see a lot of conversations about. But yeah, my hair is in this really annoying stage right now where I'm trying to grow out my bangs, and like the way that I get them cut is they take the thinning shears along the edges, so that way they like swoop in, and like some of the ends are just long enough to not be able to stick behind my ears. It's very annoying. And one day I will have my bangs fully growed out, and it'll be beautiful. I thought it was related to pony play. I mean, that is a good aspect to bring up as well. And I don't know if I talked about this in the breaking video or not, although I think actually I did, because one of the sources I used for that video was an older blog, and the blog uses the analogy of like they want to be broken like a horse, or like there's something in there related to pony play. And I think I talked about especially a lot of the mid-century to like earlier writings about BDSM before there was really a community around it. Like, for example, with Story of O, there's a lot of like pony play, breaking a human like you'd break an animal, even in more popular, well, actually I think the Story of O is still the most popular, but in terms of more modern popular fiction, things like, for example, the Sleeping Beauty trilogy, there is also this trope in, I think, at least the third book, of like very explicitly like breaking a human through like turning them into a pony. And what is called like forced pony play certainly has that connotation of forced breaking with pony play. However, it's grown to mean a lot of things. It can mean a pony play scene. It can mean a pony play relationship where that's part of the basis of the power exchange. It can mean a DS relationship thing that you do. It can mean a role play scene idea you do. It can mean a lot of different stuff. I think if I had to say the one that's the most common, I would say it's most common. First of all, it's just a fantasy. People don't really do it too often. But as a one-off scene thing that I've seen people ask for if they're really struggling with feeling submissive and feeling motivated in their DS, especially if they're a masochist, having a scene where it's like, I need you to go as like hard as you can on me for as long as you want, and just like really make me feel like I have no option but to submit to this experience, and I think that'll help reset my brain, basically. Do I think that's always a good idea? Not necessarily, but I can see the benefit of doing something like that. Sleeping Beauty, like the Disney movie, there is a series of books that are called the Sleeping Beauty trilogy, and I do not remember what pen name they were written under. Let me see if I can, because I think it was funny. Sleeping Beauty Trailhead. No, that's not what I want. Sleeping Trilogy. Thank you, Google. Anne Rice is the author, but I know she published it underneath a pseudonym first, because she didn't want it to be associated with her original, like, more serious works. And I think even the publisher was like, hey, you gotta, like, you can't put this out there. Like, you gotta... Oh, pen name was A.N. I have no idea how to say that. That's a French word, and I can't say it. It's like, it's Roqueulaure. So, Rocklard? That doesn't seem right. Rocklore? Maybe, I think Rocklore. That sounds right. Rocklore. I'm gonna go with that. It's pretty intense name. But I read it. I'm going to say, don't take what they do in the book as an instructional manual, which is really, I don't want to bring up 50 Shades of Grey again, but I think it's worth saying it now, because this is what's in the back of my head when people are like, 50 Shades of Grey is a horrible, toxic misrepresentation of BDSM, and it gives people dangerous, bad ideas of how they should be doing kink. And it's like, I have read so much kinky erotica at this point about, like, actual published, find it on a store, on a bookshelf, not fan fiction, erotica with BDSM in it. Oh, thank you, Nathan. I appreciate it. Just support the doggo cam. Also, the holidays can be hard for some, so take care, everybody, and be kind. Yes, holidays, they can be fun. They can also be very stressful and be associated with not very good memories. So, yeah, that's part of the reason why I do these streams. And I try to stream more during the holiday season, is I know it can be nice just to hang out with friends and, like, have a fun place to be, but it can also be a time where we feel really lonely and disconnected. So it's nice to get to be around other people. But yeah, the Anne Rice novels, the connection to 50 Shades of Grey, the unexpected connection. I can't speak to the story of O because I haven't read that one, but a lot of the most popular BDSM novels or erotica that features BDSM elements to it, that's not 50 Shades of Grey, a lot of those contain very bad ideas that would definitely get you in trouble. Like, with the Sleeping Beauty trilogy, I can think of a couple. The two that spring to my head the most strongly would be repeatedly shoving raw vegetables up somebody's butt as a punishment. Like, I think even multiple of them as well. Like, not even just like, oh, he's like putting an apple and then an onion and then a carrot. Like, just like, okay, like, just don't do that. Don't, if it doesn't have a flared base, don't use it. And just don't do that. And then the other thing I distinctly remember is, like, people getting suspended to/from the ceiling for, like, days consecutively. There were some other things as well I remember from the later books, but those ones definitely stick out to me because I think those are both in either the first or the second book. I don't recommend those. There's probably some other more extreme things in there that involve sex acts. There's a lot that involves, like, shoving things up people's butts non-consensually. I will say, though, the book is written by bisexual, and so you get, like, every different combination of different people and different, like, orientations all doing different things together. So if you don't just want to have a regular straight male-female romance novel, the Anne Rice Sleeping Beauty trilogy, they've got something for everyone in there. There's a lot of, especially the later books feature a lot of, like, gay male interaction that I had to kind of skip over because I'm like, oh, that's not really for me. But, you know, so it's got something for everyone in there and a lot of bad ideas. But no, I never heard anyone be like the Sleeping Beauty trilogy, which is, like, one of the most popular for the last several decades, like, kink erotica books, like, what the landmark series for modern BDSM erotica. I've never heard anyone complain about, like, hey, this is unrealistic. We shouldn't be telling people it's a good idea to shove onions up people's butts. Like, no one talks about this. No one has ever brought that up as a point. So I just find it funny because it's like they all contain, like, and maybe some of it is more pernicious, and maybe it's because certain things get into the hands of vanillas that maybe can't really understand the separation as well as other people. Also, my dog got very, very close to the camera, so let me adjust that. Look at her little snoozy face. This is what, she snuggles me right here on the desk, and she puts her little head right here on the crook of my elbow, and she just, like, hangs out. Or she'll, like, burrow underneath the, like, arms of the chair. It's very cute. Forrest Donkey playing Pinocchio too? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever watched, at least that I can remember, Disney's Pinocchio. I'm familiar with, like, the overall idea of, like, oh, he lies and then his nose gets longer and he's a puppet, and there's a scene that involves, like boys getting basically tricked by the devil into, like, drinking and gambling and stuff, and, like, it's like a cartoon that would not be made today. There's definitely people that have developed fetishes from watching really any Disney movie, but Pinocchio's probably up there. See, what else? I mean, I think we all have to acknowledge how many furries were created from Lion King. That's an inarguable fact. Many furries came from the Lion King being so popular. But yeah, lots of BDSM erotica is not particularly accurate, so I find it a little bit trite to only ever label 50 Shades as, oh, this is the dangerous bad one. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's the one where they talk about suspending people from a ceiling for like hours and hours, like days on end consecutively, and like putting dirty vegetables up people's butts, and like there's so much in there, like tying people to like a stake in public, and then like, oh, there's lots of like inaccurate dangerous stuff with impact play too. So it's all relative, and maybe that one's better because it doesn't come across in the same way that 50 Shades does with trying to be a romantic aspirational maybe DS like lifelong romantic thing. I like, maybe that's why it gets off the hook with what it talks about, but most of those books involve very, at the very least, dubious ideas about consent and play in public. Even the best of them will almost always have a scene of like, but what if we went to the company holiday party and then you fucked me in the elevator and so we almost got caught by your boss? Ooh, and it's like, okay, do you expect people to read this and then also not have their reading comprehension to be like, I shouldn't fuck my husband in the elevator at the company Christmas party? Because for some reason we don't seem to feel the need to warn people about that. I feel like that's way more likely. I think it's because 50 Shades has become big in major popularity. Yeah, I think that's ultimately what it is. I think it's uniquely popular, but there's so much other erotica. I mean, honestly, I think like if we're going to point to anything, we're going to be pointing at Colleen Hoover. Like, I haven't gotten on the like reading Colleen Hoover book train yet because I feel like Aliza Easy and Rachel Oates have really covered that. Like, I don't think I could say anything that they wouldn't say. Maybe I'll get into it if there's one that's like more kinky. If anyone knows Colleen Hoover's books and is like, this one's kinky, let me know and maybe I'll torture myself with it when I get through my reading stack of good books I need to read, or just at some point when I feel like I want to do that for a video, if that seems inspiring to me. But Colleen Hoover has so many more books and is so popular, and I believe there is a movie deal, if not for the series of books she's written, for at least one of her books. And I think that's going to blow 50 Shades out of the water. Because those ones, like, 50 Shades was something that your, like, 45-year-old aunt read on the bus kind of secretly. Everyone reads Colleen Hoover. It gets put in, like, the YA section of a Target, which, my personal critique, I think her covers do look kind of juvenile, and I do not fault stores for sorting her books, at least some of her books based on the cover, into the YA category, because I've looked at the covers and assumed they were YA books. So I kind of get it. Because a lot of them are like flowers exploding, pink, blue, like it looks like something you'd expect to find in a Target, first of all, and then it's like, that seems like that could be a YA romance novel. Like, it doesn't seem very adult to me. So I kind of get it, but it's so popular, and it's because it feels almost reactionary to 50 Shades of Grey, Colleen Hoover's books do, because from what I've seen of the reviews for a lot of her books, a lot of them have moments where they will take another female character to task because, oh, well, she's a slut, but like the main character isn't, she's in on to all this weird shit, and they'll frame it like, oh, I could never live up to so-and-so's ex-boyfriend or my roommate because they're so adventurous and they like anal and they do but like, I am but a pure naive girl who only wants the simple things in life. And then, with the power of her magical vagina, it's so good that he doesn't need kinky sex anymore because she's so good. That's the impression I've gotten from some of these books, is like, if like Colleen Hoover has definitely liked a post on Facebook that has like crying laughing emoji, like, LOL, look at all these kinky weird people, at least I need to have my clit in a bear trap to be able to get off lying what? Crying laughing emoji. That she seems like, also all of her characters are basically, all of her main characters are self-inserts. So like what, like I can tell that this is just you. They're all self-inserts and they all love cats. Honestly, I don't think you can be a romance author until you have at least 2 cats. Like that seems, it's weird that they make it a personality trait in their books. Is that weird of me because I'm a dog person because I'm allergic to cats? And now I've lived with a cat for like almost a year and I still don't get it. I'm like, I don't know, this cat's kind of boring. Cats aren't really for me. Cats are not really my thing. But people that are like, I love my cats and I'm going to make all of my main characters also love cats because that's something identifiable as a trait that I have. That's not just LOL being clumsy. And it's not to say that I don't like cats or I don't like people who like cats. I just don't get it. Like people tell me the benefits of cats and then I feel like this creature doesn't really want to be, or like this creature would be better off if I wasn't in their life. Like I just feel like I'm a constant inconvenience being around this cat or being around cats in general. It's like, oh, they'd rather be doing their own thing, but they're here because you give them food and that's it. Like it doesn't feel like it's a multi-directional relationship. It feels, I don't know, feels very transactional. Well, you're only insufferable if you become a romance author and then make all of your main characters also love cats and have cats in their books. If you do that, that's being insufferable. If it's anything less than that, you're probably fine. Unless you like insist that your cat is the best cat ever and that everyone would love cats so they liked your cat. That's a little bit obnoxious, but honestly, I've never met anyone who's done that before, so it's probably fine. Yes, the stream is live. We are here. Okay, let's get to some more questions. I was planning on maybe doing decorating of the tree, but now I don't have any energy to go downstairs and like grab the giant bag of Christmas stuff, and like I don't trust the stream to be able to handle me moving my camera. So I'm gonna just keep the changes to a minimum here. What would be your advice for going to about a kink topic? My dominant and I are so nervous about judgment. Going to about, I feel like this could be a couple of things. Okay, this could be, what would be your advice for going to talk about a kink topic? Or I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm struggling to understand what this is supposed to be. Could somebody help me? I think, okay, I'm not going to say I'm not going to do the tree decorating because I might recover my energy in a minute, but I don't want to promise anything. What would be your advice for going to, okay, my dominant and I are so nervous about judgment, that makes it sound like you're going to an event or like talking to somebody who's not kinky. But let me know if I'm wrong about that. Oh, going to a doctor. Oh, what would be your advice for going to talk to a doctor about a kink topic? Okay. So first of all, understand there's like a 50-50 chance that your medical provider is also kinky. The number of nurses and doctors that are kinky is through the roof. EMTs too, phlebotomist, I think it's phlebotomist. All of them, all the way down, everything, like they're all kinky. 50-50 chance they're kinky, especially if they're younger. It's probably less if they're an older doctor. Like if they're over like 50, I'd say it's more like 20%. But especially if they're under like 35 or like 30, well, actually, if you're talking about a doctor, if they're 35, they're just like really barely finished med school. So if they're like 45 and under, I would say it's like 50-50. So, one, realize that a lot of people are going to understand it from a personal perspective. And then two, it is worth it to be a little bit cautious about selecting your doctor to set yourself up for the best environment possible. Like if you don't feel comfortable talking to that particular doctor about personal things or your sex life, it's probably not going to really work out to talk about BDSM with them. If you have some kind of non-emergency medical thing you want advice about, I've always found the doctors at Planned Parenthood to be very affirming and non-judgmental. I have been there, like in the last year, I went to Planned Parenthood probably like 8 times. I went there a ton just for like medical stuff I was dealing with, and they, even if I went in there with like a huge bruise somewhere on my ass, or even like a physical therapist too, like I've had that happen too, where I've like had physical therapy and I've been like, oh, I forgot that I had like my whole lower half is just bruised, and what do I do? And every single time I've even had to bring it up, I just proactively say, hey, before we start streaming today, I want to make sure that you are aware I do have some bruises on this part of my body, and they're consensual, and I don't have any concerns about them, basically, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about them if there's a reason that you think you should be concerned about them. And I've never had anything like bad happen as a result of that. They've always just been like, okay, great, and they've just moved on. Like, it's been literally nothing. The response has been underwhelming. The 5 times it's come up where I've had to talk about kink, and they're all different doctors, all different providers, nurses, doctors, physical therapists. Every single time it's been just like, oh, okay, great, that's it. But if you have something you want to talk about for a kink topic, that's you have a question for them that's related to a concern you have about kink, then there might be some misunderstanding, but hopefully a good doctor will be willing to educate themselves to be able to provide the best possible care they can to you as their client and as their patient. But I think even if in their personal life, maybe they think, oh, that's kind of weird, that's not really their job. They can think it's weird personally, but their job is just to make sure that you're happy and healthy and that you are going to not injure yourself or not experience some kind of worse outcome because of like a thing you're doing. So you may not have to do the abuse paperwork. Heck yeah. Basically, yeah. They're just like, okay, good. Thanks for explaining that so I don't have to file a report anywhere. Yeah. Oh, Fat Life also has a group you can ask a doctor. Yes. I think there's also, I've heard of like a Facebook group, but I don't know. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know about that. But I know Fat Life does, yeah. Yes, a lot of medical providers are very kinky. Thank you for answering. Thank you for answering. My dominant and I are super nervous. Yeah, I totally get being nervous. I think going in with a pre-prepared answer, depending on what it is you're gonna want to talk about, will be a positive idea. There is, depending on what subjects you want to cover, which you haven't mentioned, there is a slim chance they could want to separate you and your dominant to ask you both separately, like, hey, is everything going on okay? Like, anything you tell us about the relationship? Like, whenever I've gone to Planned Parenthood, they've always had me do a questionnaire of, like, basically, are you safe in the relationship? Are you coming here of your own free will? Like, just double checking, just to be like, hey, if you need to talk about something, here's space for it. So that may happen depending on what you want to go in for. But if it's something like, you want to have a kid and you're like, hey, we're into spanking in the bedroom, is it okay to spank during the first 3 months of pregnancy or something like that? Like, is it an unusual question? Maybe, but probably not entirely outlandish. And I think a lot of doctors would wish that their patients were more proactive as opposed to being embarrassed and then not asking and then not getting an answer and then potentially ending up in a bad spot. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to move on to a new doctor depending on what your circumstances are. But if you really need help for something and they're not helping you, then look, they're not the right doctor for you, and you gotta try again. Definitely get into the Fat Life group. You can also call lines too. I don't know about where you live and what services would be available for you, but depending on again the level of question, you may be able to get an answer from like a nurse's line. There's all kinds of, I think even some, maybe not insurances, but I know some healthcare providers' offices do offer like an around the clock nurses line, because it's helpful for them to be able to know where to put certain cases. Like, is this a go to the ER? Is this a go to an urgent care? Is it wait until Monday until the clinic opens, or make an appointment next week? Like, they can help you figure out how worried you should be about certain things. I've even used that too. This is when I was in college, and I think it was from the nurses line at my university. But a random fun story about me: one day long ago, even think it was around the holidays, I had, oh, actually, it was a lemon lavender plug-in I got from Bath and Body Works that I had in my dorm. It was my sophomore year of college. And out of nowhere, I'd used them before. I'd always used Bath and Body Works candles. I don't anymore. This is why. I had a sudden allergic reaction to it, where like my face got swollen, my eyelids were swelling, and I was really like, I didn't have any itchiness, trouble breathing, anything like that. But I called a nurse's line and they were able to walk me through it and what I should do. And I used a pulse oximeter. My pulse was good. I wasn't like losing oxygen or anything. And I was able to eventually I figured out that it was the plug-in, and as soon as I unplugged it and got rid of it, everything was better again. But that was scary. So I've been in a situation where I've been like, it's like 11 p.m. on like a Friday. What am I supposed to do? And I was able to call. I was like, do I need to go to the ER? I've never gone to the ER before. What do I do if I have to do that? Like, I was freaking out because I thought I was just gonna suddenly die of being allergic to this plug-in in my room. So be cautious with a lot of the commercially made air freshener plugins, because they can be quite potent. That would be my advice. Never had that happen before or since though. So I don't like, it was a fluke thing, thankfully, but I got an ad for a rhinestone water bottle that I definitely do not want. A rhinestone water bottle. Just like a regular water bottle, but they bedazzled it. That's so funny. Man, they're just guessing. They're like, listen, we don't know what this person's audience wants. Just do whatever. Manscaping. I mean, honestly, manscaping, not necessarily a bad choice for this channel. I think a lot of people would appreciate a good shaving kit. So, hey, never say no to a sponsorship. Actually, I do that all the time. But fully bedazzled. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so yes, I always think it's better to talk to a doctor versus not talk to them. If you don't feel comfortable talking directly to a doctor face to face, you have plenty of options for getting potential answers depending on what your issue is before going to see someone in person, and that might be more comfortable for you. Or even better, third step, telehealth. Telehealth is a great option. Lots of urgent cares have them too. If you have a issue that isn't like I need to get a shot or I'm bleeding or something. Precious little Stretch. That was so precious, little dog. That's what I live for, watching her do that. That's why I do what I do. So also telehealth, having a little bit of separation, I think could also be another option. But that's also less personal, which also has its own downsides. So you get some, you lose some. Okay, I saw something from Vera. Question: do you know someone who went from heavy non-monogamy to monogamy, not because a partner that doesn't want non-monogamy, just from themselves? Oh, like they decide, I think I want to be monogamous again after non-monogamy. I have definitely seen that before. I would say I have mostly seen it with couples, usually people that are deciding to have kids. They go from like, I have two partners and this is my girlfriend and my girlfriend's boyfriend, and we're sharing a bed together on the weekends, and lots of, especially people that are in non-monogamy for more sexually motivated reasons, where they have a bunch of maybe casual sex partners. that I've seen, where people they settle down and maybe they've been married for a long time, but they decide to like have another kid or start a family, and then they go, well, going to the orgies on the weekends is nice, but also I gotta like raise a family. So they decide to say goodbye to that part of their life because they're moving on to a different stage. For people that have done it just by themselves, I've seen people do it if they've gone through like an experimental phase where they went from maybe being monogamous for a long time and then they became non-monogamous just to see what it would be like, and then they go, that's not really for me, gotta go back to monogamy. I think if people do move, it tends to be, well, okay, I have seen this too. Maybe not even just like an experimental thing. I've definitely seen people that they were on the fence about like non-monogamy to begin with. They got into it because they started dating somebody that was non-monogamous, and so naturally they also became non-monogamous because that's how that works. And they were maybe non-monogamous for a couple years even, being in that relationship. Maybe over time that relationship went away, breakup happened, just got deprioritized, whatever. And then they decide once that relationship ends, you know what? Actually, I didn't really like non-monogamy after all. I really just did it to be with that person. And now that I'm on my own, I understand that actually I really do just want monogamy. And I was willing to accept non-monogamy to be with that person. But now that I don't have that person anymore, there's no reason for me to accept non-monogamy because it's not something I actually have to do to be in a relationship. So not because a partner doesn't want monogamy, just for themselves. Yeah, yeah, it happens. I mean, like in the amount of time that non-monogamy has become a more mainstream thing that people do, and in just looking at the sheer numbers of people that have done non-monogamy, I'm sure there are people that have gone from like, quote, heavy non-monogamy to monogamy, but I feel like it almost always tends to come on the back of some kind of like big life change, like either like a really big phase of experimentation that ends, or having a kid, or getting married, or a really big breakup at an important time in life, as opposed to just like waking up one day and being like, actually, I don't want this anymore. Although also like having that realization of like, I either want monogamy and I don't have that, or I want non-monogamy and I don't have that. Both of those things can also like disrupt relationships on their own too. So there's that as well. Goes back to monogamy because the economy gets better. Yeah, exactly. Like you can't have, yeah, it's like, oh, I was non-monogamous because I needed help paying for a house, but now that I got a raise and inflation went down, we go back to non-monogamy now. Oh, jeez. Okay, hopefully that helped answer your question. Oh, any recommendations? I am only non-monogamous. Oh, wow, been non-monogamy since you were in non-monogamy since you were in high school. But I'm tired of fighting the whole world. I mean, like there are definitely reasons why people choose to step away from things that make them feel fulfilled because life sucks, right? Like that's sort of, and not this is really my place to speak about it, but I feel like this is something that gets talked about in terms of like detransitioning, right? Like, I don't think polyamory and being trans are anywhere near close to being the same thing in terms of, like, acceptance. And, like, we're not making a comparison here other than, like, I think this is a similar thing that people go through where you are something, you want to be something, you practice being that thing, but the world makes actually being that thing really, really difficult. And so going back to not practicing that thing, even when you are something else, just because it makes life easier, like, I get that. Yeah, I get choosing to be like, I want to be non-monogamous, but having to fight the whole world, whether that be people online or family acceptance or legal issues or finding the right people who want the same kind of polyamory as you. That's a really big thing. Like I've been through that a lot where I've found people that are really like there's like either something, it's so hard, like when you're just finding a vanilla relationship, you got to be on the same page about like marriage and kids, but when you're also kinky and also polyamorous and also asexual, you have to be on the same page about like marriage, kids, other relationships, kink, how kink and other relationships intersect with each other, and having a family, and or having kids, and getting married, and like there's so many intersections in that it's so easy to like have a big disagreement about very important things, and then that means the relationship not work, or it would mean that the relationship wouldn't work out. So the world does make it difficult, and some people also have non-accepting families. Yes, that's a very big thing. A lot of people at least for a lot of people I know, it is easier to be out to their families as queer or gay or bisexual compared to being polyamorous, because at least for if you have more like liberal or progressive parents in America, those parents are like proud that their kid is gay sometimes. Like they're like, oh, okay. Like they can act kind of cringe about it sometimes. Don't get me wrong, like it can still definitely be cringe, but they're not like homophobic, or they don't ask like homophobic things. Really just kind of go like, hey, when are you bringing your boyfriend home? Like, you know, they're better about it. They have some kind of point of reference for like how to behave or like what that thing even is. Whereas polyamory, I think, is so foreign to so many people. They don't have any point of reference. They're just like, oh, so it's like it's cheating, or especially if you had a really long-term relationship that your parents or family knows about, and then you like open your marriage or come out about having an open relationship, they might be to your face accepting, but then behind your back or behind closed doors, they're like, I mean, it kind of just sounds like she was convinced to be okay with him cheating on her. Like, this seems really weird. Like, they can be publicly accepting and then privately very judgmental about it, but you can usually tell when that private judgment is still happening because it doesn't generally stay just private. How do people tend to broach the subject of polyamory with families? Honestly, I don't know. There is a book that it's called When Someone You Love is Polyamorous. It is designed to be given to people that are family members to, or otherwise like emotionally close to people that are polyamorous that want them to know about the fact they're polyamorous. Like, could be best friends, could be family, could be adult children maybe. So it makes sense that it would be difficult to come out to people in your life that way. I know the desire that people have to be able to come out that way. For me, it hasn't really made sense to do that. Like, just with my own family dynamics, I haven't had to go through that process. I don't think I ever will. Like, the way that I want to do polyamory, like, I don't want to have like an equilateral triad where like I'm dating two people at the same time and they both like come home with me and we sit next to each other at the Thanksgiving table and then we all like three kiss at the same time. Like, I don't want that level of interconnectedness between multiple partners. So I don't really have anything invested in like, but I want both my partners or all of my partners to like come to Christmas with me with my family. Like, I just don't care about that. So it's not something that I would necessarily really care about. So I haven't had that conversation. I don't really know how people would do it. I imagine it would be a long, difficult conversation. You would have to prepare yourself for answering some probably annoying questions about like, isn't this just cheating? Aren't you just sleeping around? Like, I could imagine, especially with like very anxious family members or religious family members, them thinking it's a sign of like a porn addiction or a sex addiction or just any other kind of addiction. What other kinds of addiction would it be related to? It's just trying to get in the mind of somebody who is like religious and anti-sex. I don't know. But definitely porn addiction, sex addiction, cheating, covering up cheating, wanting to cheat and then getting permission to do it. Like, is this because your father and I got divorced? Is this because your mother and I didn't have a good marriage? Like, you know, is this because your uncle cheated on your aunts? Like, people will try to psychoanalyze and prescribe reasons for why you are the way you are and pathologize it, and you got to be able to shut that out and just be prepared for those questions that are annoying, but you got to keep in mind, if somebody, even if they're meaning well and they love you, if they don't know what polyamory is, like, their brain is probably going to go to like cheating and sleeping around and like not being able to be faithful, right? There's a lot of people, they consider monogamy to be a core aspect of being faithful and committed and honest in a relationship. And even when you're openly acknowledging and pursuing other partners, like they can't shake that feeling of that somehow not being okay. Honestly, I barely know any other trans people around here. I know who they are, but I'm not close. Like, it's, yeah, like, I think that was, I thought I was reading a different comment, but just, it's hard to meet people that share your experience sometimes. Zoomer lesbian culture? Dare I ask what that even means? Dare I ask? Somehow I know what you mean, but also I'm glad I'm not around that. I'm just picturing a lot of like ripped wide leg jeans and belts and wolf cut hairstyles. That's what I'm picturing. But I think if what you're trying to do is move away from being non-monogamous and going back into monogamy, that would actually be a really good topic for a book. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is Kathy Labriola's book, which is the polyamorous breakup book or the polyamory breakup book. That one has a lot of good resources in it for like what happens when you come out of a non-monogamous relationship and healing from that. That's probably what I would look at. Anne Rampling is the other pseudonym for Anne Rice. I did not know. Thank you for the information. Okay, we definitely missed some things in here. I'm going to try to get to a couple. Let me see if we can get to that. We also did a good Exit to Eden book. Movie that was more comedy, but was a good one. Showed newbies for putting the relationship first in whatever form it took. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch Exit to Eden. I haven't actually seen it yet because it's hard to find. Like, it's not on any streaming services or anything. It wasn't really popular when it came out. I think I can actually, the DVD on Amazon's like $85, which please don't buy that for me. I will just find a way to download a digital copy. But I've heard, it's a bad movie. Maybe like it's so bad that it's entertaining again. But I didn't know that I forgot that she had written the book that's based on. It is. Oh, because that's where the Anne Rampling. Rampling is such an interesting, it's like romp and rambling put together. I love it. I should read Exit to Eden. That sounds like that'd be a peak 1985. I love the like original first edition cover. So edgy. Just go look up a picture of it. It's very edgy. It's perfect. It has zero notes. Love it. Perfect. The $10 didn't go through. No! I don't know. Okay, YouTube is just like seriously dropping the ball here. I have no super chats or anything on my end, so I'm very sorry. I don't know if I've missed. I don't think I've missed any. I don't think I've missed any of the restream chats, but I will keep an eye out just in case. 3 ads in another 15 minutes. Okay, that's excessive. They need to. I don't know if I can change that while I'm streaming. Oh, it says estimated frequency. Oh my god. I literally can make it so an ad plays every 6 minutes. That is something else. Oh, my only other option is let YouTube insert mid-roll ads for you. I don't trust them. I don't think there's any good option for this. I'm gonna have to read more about this later because that seems there has to be a better way to do this. Okay, I'm not gonna get distracted looking at settings. That's boring. I've wasted too much time dealing with tech today. Yes, YouTube is, yeah. I would not. YouTube, I've seen what YouTube does when it attempts to do something on its own, and it always ends up doing the worst possible option. Like, oh, you have a 20-minute video? Here's 20 ad spots. Deal with it. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you like the sweater. Thank you. I pulled this one out of storage just for the stream. Oh, there we go. Hey, Twixie, just to continue, thank you. You're so welcome, Twixie. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, I guess that's true too. Disney Cinderella also had forced pony play, but it was mice that became horses. Is that really an upgrade? I mean, I guess maybe it is for the mice. Oh, Pinocchio is also an example of dollification. Yeah, sort of an unconventional form of dollification. Or, well, I mean, if you're imagining him as a puppet, but also it is sort of like reverse transformation because he is ultimately a puppet that wants to become a real boy. So that's fun. Reverse dollification. Interesting ideas. I find it hard to find a chai base that does not have honey in it, and either I have to find one that doesn't have honey in it or one that doesn't have caffeine. And I prefer the ones that don't have caffeine. But I've really been loving the mushroom tea I got because it has no caffeine in it. I don't really buy into adaptogens or whatever, but this one's really nice. I like this. I love The Killer Wore Leather by Laura Antonou. Slightly comedic, but the personality types are very much like any leather event I've been to. That sounds like a fun time. I love it. Not gonna lie, the Wagon Master scene where the boy screamed to go home traumatized me for real. Yeah, I'm not I'm not a fan. There's a lot of stuff in there that I forget about that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There's a bunch of stuff that involves like uh getting paraded around nude and like holding coins in your mouth and like oh yeah, there's lots of stuff that happens to like young people in that book. All right, Anne, calm down. Oh, but also I think isn't there is the wagon master in Pinocchio too, right? Actually, maybe that's what I'm because there's stuff that involves getting tied to a wheel in public in the that's what you're referring to. Is like, oh, maybe it was a wagon wheel. Like the wagon master was the person with like the wheel in public in the Sleeping Beauty trilogy books. I was like, oh yeah, that did suck. But yeah, there's some questionable stuff in the Anne Rice books. But you know what? She was going crazy with it. She was having a great time writing that, I'm sure. My sub has asked if I would be okay with electroplay. Is that things like violet wands, etc.? Is that safe? I know kink isn't risk-free, but can giving shocks be a good idea? Okay. So electroplay can mean a lot of different stuff. I always wanted to do an electroplay video, but like I am not an electroplay top, and so I don't know a ton about it. I've taken like 3 or 4 classes about electroplay at this point, so I feel like I understand the basics enough to be able to explain them, but not like I can't explain the safety parameters of electroplay in great detail. Essentially, with electroplay, you are dealing with 2 broad categories of implements. You have what I would call like a TENS unit type, which is usually done with pads on the skin, and then that creates a, how would I describe the feeling of it? Like you can't control the muscle in your own body kind of over the area that the pads have been placed. Like it feels almost like when you get a cramp or a muscle spasm, and that can vary in intensity from like not even noticeable to like very, very intense. I like TENS units because they are, especially if you get a better unit for them, they can be anywhere from like very, very mild to very intense. And you can also hook them up to a lot of like insertables if you want to, for example, use it as a way to potentially experience orgasm. A lot of people, even in the lower settings where you don't feel it as being a shock or being painful, it can cause like contractions inside that can lead to or feel like the experience of having an orgasm. I would not recommend that as like a brand new beginner necessarily, but that is something down the line that's more your style to be aware of, do more research about, look into it more. The other type is what you're describing, like the violet wand type. And with the TENS unit, you're really going down into the muscle. There's not really that surface experience, but violet wands and things like them, like neon wands, are all surface level. They can still, like, for example, people will use them on the more extreme end to cause semi-temporary, I'll say, semi-temporary, like, branding. This is, like, one of the first things I ever saw in the kink scene. I walked into, like, my first or second party, and there was someone at the latter half of the party that was in one of the corner areas that had a violet wand that was giving somebody a I say semi-temporary because I know people that have had these where they've gone away very quickly, and other people where they've taken years to go away, or they fade but never permanently leave. But they were getting an I heart. They were a little, and they were getting an I heart mom tattoo on their arm, which like is very, very cute. I like that as an idea. So that it can be very extreme, but also it can be very light. And no, hooking someone up to like a shocking device, like don't do anything that's like really extreme. But with these surface sparks, they're essentially, and this isn't a perfect analogy, but it's kind of like static cling or static shock. Like it's just on the surface. So you can use something like a violet wand pretty much anywhere you'd want to do a form of play. You can do it on the back, you can do it over the nipples, you can do it like all over the skin. I wouldn't do it on like the mouth and the eyeballs. Other places like that, again, do your own research. This is just like based on what I know. I'm not a full expert on electroplay, but violet wands are not necessarily super risky in terms of like location. Like I've seen like a lot of we even see violet wands that get sold as a hair growth thing. Or estheticians will use them for facial treatments because the violet wands, actually, the ozone they create is very good for clearing up blemishes. You can also use them along. This isn't efficacious, but the theory is that for some reason the stimulation of electricity will awaken the hair follicles and like cure blindness. So like people will also do it on their forehead and on their all over their head, and they'll do it all over their face. I wouldn't do it on like a mucous membrane, but you can do it all over the skin, and I would say it's more of a light burny, almost like a rubber band snapping is I think what a lot of people say. I don't like violet wands personally, so I don't play with them. I just find them to be kind of annoying and unpleasant. I don't process them as like a kinky fun thing to play with when I have done them, and trust me, I have tried. I have done many demos involving violet wands, and I just don't find them very fun to play with. But I know lots of people that love topping for violet wands. I know lots of people love playing with TENS units. That's more my speed personally. But it's not maybe as risky as you're thinking it is. It's not the same thing as like shocking someone with like an electrical outlet or hooking them up to a car battery or something really extreme like that. You're not going to suddenly turn into a skeleton because you used a violet wand. Just like learn about it, take some classes, and if your partner is into it, they can hopefully help give you some more guidance on like what they think they would like about it, what types of toys they want to play with, what type of sensation they're looking for, and you can use that to tailor what education you're pursuing. But it's can it be a good idea though? It can be. I have found that in my observational experience, electroplay can be very effective for brats, especially if you can put something on a stick and poke them with it from far away, which is certainly higher risk because you could end up poking someone else by accident, or they could end up grabbing the device. But if you have, for example, like a little devil or a zapper, you just I don't think with the way the zapper works you can do this on a stick, but with the little devil, I'm pretty sure you can. You shock them from far away. So just keep them back, keep them in line. It's kind of fun. Oh, yeah, yeah. If you have like an IUD, I would not do any kind of like, especially like a copper one. You probably really would not want to do this. Uh, but yeah, if you have an IUD, I, that would be quite the question to ask your obgyn at your next appointment. Hey, so I know we're coming up on maybe like in the next 6 months replacing my IUD, but in the meantime, um, if somebody puts a dildo in my pussy and electrifies it, is that cool for the IUD? Like, is that going to cause problems? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know enough theoretically about electricity or physics or like what is inside of an IUD to be like, is this a good or a bad idea or not? They certainly haven't studied it. So I'm going to say probably don't do it if you have an IUD. I'm going to not recommend that as an option. I have tried to top for electroplay. I have used violet wands on other people in a demo setting, and I don't like it's kind of interesting, but I don't really get anything out of it. I mean, the smell of ozone that comes off of a violet wand is very distinct, and like I enjoy that experience of it, but I compared to like other tools that kind of have like reverb and feedback to them, which I know with violet wands you can hook them up to where you also like feel things too, and a lot of these devices you can uh, find ways to make it so you're experiencing sensations alongside your partner. It's good for switches that way, but I haven't ever done that, and I it's not as fun to me as like skin contact. Like I'm not really that big into like technology when it comes to kink play, to be honest. Like VR or other things. I mean, when you're using, and again, I'm not an expert about this, please do other research besides me. I highly recommend if you want to do stuff like this to take classes about it. I have found it to be more difficult to find education around TENS units compared to violet wands, but you like when you need to have some kind of conduit to make the thing happen. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to explain, so I'm just going to not explain it. Like, uh, I would say that many people have very successfully used insertable devices with electricity play to great effect and pleasurable results. So it can be a bad idea. It depends on the context and what you're trying to achieve. I totally agree. Just kind of holding a device over somebody, it's kind of boring on my part. And like, I get people are into, especially the more visual aspect of it. If like you get the arcing and stuff, people enjoy seeing that in kind of like a mad scientist way, or like the noise of it or the smell. People enjoy that too. But I need the tactile feedback of like what I'm doing to a person if I'm going to be playing in that direction. We're apparently talking about mermaid kinks, and I missed it. How did mermaids come up? Honestly, how is there not like a Christmas mermaid movie? I feel like that needs to be a thing. I did answer the question about becoming monogamous. If you have more questions, let me know. Violet wands are about the safest electrical play as far as I know. That is more or less my understanding. I think I'm not sure if like something like a zapper would be safer. I think it depends on the quality of the item. Like if it was like, oh, we got a violet wand from Wish or Zapper, I would trust the brand name Zapper over the Wish violet wands. But yeah, if you're gonna do this, don't get devices from a drop shipping store, please. That would be my advice. My procedure research is TENS units are okay with copper IUDs. I use it for cramps, not kingdom and foreign cerebrals. Oh yeah, I'll use them externally. Yeah, like yeah, for TENS units for external period cramps. Yeah, I mean, and also like back pain and stuff. Yeah, but internally, I'm not sure about. That actually is probably the closest. I think if you research this, what you'd be able to find people have said about it. Because yeah, I guess if you are like if you're putting it across the lower part of your stomach, theoretically going over where your IUD is located, I could see that being a problem. Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna call it fish miss. Oh my god, that would be funny. A very mermaid fishmas. Just have them all be Italian as a seafood dinner for Christmas. A Fishmas Carol. That's definitely a better name. Temu handcuffs, 30% chance the key is out of tolerance. I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, well, do they even sell like real handcuffs? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, they definitely do. Like, we're not just talking about like toy handcuffs from a bachelorette party. We're talking about like real, like modeled after police handcuffs, because you can find anything on Temu. And that's concerning. I've never seen Luca, so I don't know. I think Luca's about like a mer boy that has a human friend, and they get gelato or like lemon shave ice at some point. That's all I know about it. That's all I got. Sleeping Beauty sounds so egregious, and that's probably why no one thinks it's a threat. Yeah, hiding in plain sight. That's why. The Cushiel, yeah, the Cushiel series. I love that. The Cushiel series by Jacqueline Carey is such a good series. It is. They definitely muddies the waters between like non-consensual physical abuse and like, I mean, kind of intentionally does this, between like non-con physical abuse and like pleasurable like physical masochistic experiences. It's so fucking long though. Oh my god. Like if I had to reread the first book, I don't think I'd ever be able to reread the series because it's like 1,000 pages. It's a lot. Like you have to have free time to read that series, especially the first book. But it is an enjoyable one. I do like it. I think if I could, would I listen? I might, honestly, if they made an audiobook version of it, which I haven't looked for, I might listen to it as an audiobook just to refresh my memory of the series. I just want to stare at his ceiling while being railed and nothing else, and that's 100% the best way. I mean, according to Jesus, supposedly, allegedly, that is the best way. Except for he never talked about any. That's how we know. If you treat cats like they're on the spectrum, they make a lot more sense. I'm going to attempt that next time I interact with the cat. I will. That makes sense to me. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. Normally she just meows at me, but then I'm like, oh, do you want this? And I try to pet her, and then like I've tried petting her all different directions, all different ways, all different parts of her body. And like, it's like, oh no, you just do it. You just pet her. It's okay. And it's like, she doesn't like, as soon as I move my hand towards her, she's like, you know, curl, that doesn't hiss, but like, you know, contorts like her noodle body to move away from me and move away from my hand. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's telling me she doesn't want to be pet right now, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Dogs live to serve humans, while a cat is a tiny tiger that lives inside your house. That is definitely more accurate. Save the tree decorating for next stream. I could do it on Monday. I also don't know if I'm going to keep the tree in this room, which is like part of my reason for like not committing to it. Also, when I was putting it up, like half of the string of lights don't light up. So there's like, you can't actually see it because my face is covering it up, but there's like a dead section in the middle of the tree of like lights that aren't working. So I'm like, I don't really want to like put up like the tree decorations. So we may end up having different decorations next time around. Just tuned in from the UK. Hello, UK. It is very early morning there, I imagine. Like, cats are fine. Cats are fine. They're just... I will never have a relationship with at least the kind of cats I've interacted with that I have with my dog. I'm open to that changing. I'm also not going to, like, keep getting different cats and being like, this one's going to be the one that I like, because I'm allergic to them anyways. And so if I have to be around more of them just trying to roll the dice to be like, I hope this cat likes me, that's not a good plan. Plus, I have my dog and I love her. She's so cute. Look at that. The ultimate snooze mode. This is the ultimate snooze mode. That's what I'm going to call it. Slow zoom in. Zoom all the way out. And just like slow, like 70s horror movie zoom in. Look at this. Look at this rack zoom right here. So precious. So adorable. Okay. I'm going to get to like 1 or 2 more questions and then I think that'll be it. I feel like 50 Shades is different because macro consent is real but is practiced inappropriately. Is this reasonable? I don't know what you mean by macro consent. That is an interesting concept. Do you mean in like blanket consent? Like you kind of overall consent to like this relationship happening or this thing happening or BDSM happening, but then you can do that in a wrong way? Is that what you mean? Interesting. Are you still listening to Agalloch these days? Not a ton. I go back to like a couple of songs, but not on like a regular basis. But they're in the gym playlist mix. They're in there. They get in there. I tend to honestly have been mostly listening to podcasts when I work out, which is the time when I would listen to music. So I don't tend to like listen to a lot of music overall, which is kind of sad, but I've just been in a there's just so much stuff to catch up on for podcasts and like news and stuff like that. So that's usually what my gym time is, because like editing videos all day, which I've been doing a lot of recently because I've had a backlog for a while of like videos that need to be edited, and but like I can't listen to anything else when I edit videos, and so I don't get to like have a radio on or anything. Very sad. Oh, sorry, puppy, I woke you up. Oh, we're going to the bed. Okay. There we go. I tapped the spoon against the side of the glass, which was a grave crime for which I will never be forgiven. Just remember the amount of patients every doctor has seen with various items needing to be surgically removed from their rectum while they were in med school or residency. Yeah, like it's literally like, from what I remember seeing, it's usually like at least like 100 patients a year. So like if at a large enough like local hospital, so you get like every 3rd day there's somebody who's coming in with something in their butt. So like unless you're sticking light bulbs up there, you don't really have much to be worried about, I don't think. As far as like embarrassing the doctor, please don't put anything up your butt. If you do, be worried about it. Don't do that. Controlled substances only with a flared base, please. That is my PSA for all of you, which you know. They're not going to put you in a jacket. No, I mean, the worst that's going to happen if you go to a doctor is they're going to hand you a pamphlet about domestic violence. Like, unless you come in and are like, this man is beating me against my will and holding me captive inside his home, like, unless you really force their hand as mandatory reporters, like, as long as it's like it's consensual and I want this. I mean, there may be some, like, I don't know where you live, so I guess there could be some unique things with like consent to bodily harm that could cause issues, but for the most part, like, I've never heard this being a problem before in places where people openly do BDSM. Like, as long as you're framing it as being consensual and desired and like everything's on the up and up, like, you should be fine. She is very relaxed. I know. She's just gotta go to bed. She mostly sleeps on my bed at night, though, so it's kind of her day bed, honestly. Running shoes? You guys are getting some funny... Oh, good lord. Picturing littles and middles getting a hold of a bedazzling kit and no piece of clothing would be safe. I mean, I am surprised I haven't seen a bedazzling party yet for littles and middles. I think that needs to happen. That would be so fun. Like a bring your own t-shirt, or like bring your own like thing you want to bedazzle, and then they like give people bedazzling kits. Maybe that's more of a cost thing. I think bedazzling kits can get kind of pricey actually, but I like the idea and spirit. Non-monogamy in the right way is really my dream. I've been into that for 15 years now. I'm tired of everything. I get ya. I mean, it sounds like having a break for your mental health is, at the very least, a good idea right now. I would definitely, if I was in your position, and I've had those moments mentally where I'm like, do I really want to like keep, this is a lot of work emotionally. Do I really want to keep doing this? Do I have to keep doing this? And sometimes you do need to take a break from the polyamory and step back and like, or non-monogamy, and figure out that's what you really want long term. And if you do want it, what that looks like, and what, if anything, you are willing to compromise on. Hello, Evie. Love your videos. Please keep up the wonderful work and keep being you. You are so welcome, Absurd Falcon. I will try my best to keep inspiring you with my wonderful videos. Absurd Falcon. Love that name. It's like a classic back in the days of actual usernames names. I've gone back and forth several times, mostly due to not having a serious partner. To it was a trite distinction, as long as the casual partners know on a first date. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it depends on, I guess, also the level of participation you have in non-monogamy too. Like if you don't have any serious partners, you're just really going on casual dates, like the line between polyamory and just like casual serial dating is a thin one. My mom literally used the phrase, "What would the neighbors think?" LOL. Like, I don't even know she knew her neighbors. Yeah, it's like, they're like, "Oh, well, but like, it could affect," like, I think a lot of parents mean well, and they're just like, "Oh, but what about," like, they don't want you to be embarrassed or you to be put in danger or in harm's way or have your employment affected because, oh, well, like, isn't that going to be a problem for, like, what about when you retire? What about if you want to have kids? What about, like, they're very worried about the practical stuff a lot. And it's like, I don't really care what the neighbors think. I don't really think my boss needs to know about this. And if they do know about it, I really hope they wouldn't fire me over it because I'm good at my job. But having to, I think if you read a book like When Someone You Love Is, or If Someone You Love Is Polyamorous, I think they'd probably talk about that in there. She is in donut mode. We love her donut mode. It's so cute. My sister was really intrigued by my DS 24/7 though. I rattled off a list of my roles when I first told her, and she was like, "He makes you do what?" It's like, I mean, it doesn't make you do anything. And from knowing you, I think you just do it because you like all that stuff. And also, if he makes you do it, it's because you want to be made to do it. Like, yeah, non-kinky people, they need to be warned, or they should just be aware of the tree they're barking up when they're like, "I want to know about this kink thing you do." Like, are you really sure you want to know that? You just just think to yourself, double check in your mind, do you really want to have this knowledge forever inside of your brain? Because not everyone does. Not everyone does. Some people do. Some people are like, they're like, "Let me get the popcorn, tell me all about it." And some people are like, "Hey, you're right, I shouldn't have asked that question." It depends. And make him make me do it. Honestly, that's probably a pretty good way to explain it to vanilla people. Is no, it's not just him making me do it. I make him make me do it. And that's how power exchange works. Might at least make it more digestible, even if it's not maybe even in that the fully nuanced correct answer. Oh, it's already 5 after. Okay. I gotta go. I need to get ready to head to the gym before they close. So Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. This is a very interesting stream. It did not necessarily go to plan, but I hope you all enjoyed it anyways and enjoyed cute little Miss Bendita being there. Thank you all so much for watching. Not really any big updates right now. We will be doing more streams in the next couple of weeks for the holidays. So look out for that. We'll be doing movie hangout streams on Patreon. We'll be doing like Christmas games over on Twitch on Mondays at 5 o'clock. And obviously streams here on YouTube, maybe some other ones kind of like randomly spread out in there. And we'll have the beautiful Miss Little Bendita with us, huh? He's like, I'm tired. Just let me be tired. Okay. All right, we'll see you all later. All right, bye.